that a breakup?
I think we have a situation right here.
On the Feeling Station.
Hello.
Hey, what's happening?
Hi, tonight.
You doing good?
Okay, and yourself?
I'm doing exceptionally well, thanks for asking. Welcome to the Feeling Station podcast.
Thank you.
I've been meaning to do this for a long time, and I'm so chuffed that we finally have time to get your situation recorded. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I am. I am looking forward to, getting it off my chest.
Good stuff. Before we get too far, for anybody listening to the podcast for the first time, it touches on breakup stories that people would like to talk about with a view to give you a lesson from the individual's experience. And part of the reason why it's been doing so well is we do our best to keep the parties anonymous. So, to get the ball started, I've got a name for you.
Okay.
Right? And the name that I've picked out for you is from the Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And the name is Kitoko, which is in the language... Yeah, Kitoko, Kitoko.
Okay.
Which is in a language known as Lingala, and that means beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah?
I like it.
How nice is that?
No, thank you. I like it.
Right now, I've got a little task for you. You need to think of a name that you want to give the person that you're going to talk about today. What name would you like to give them?
I'm going to call him Mudiwa.
Ooh, that's a nice name.
Yeah, it sounds nice, but...
It doesn't sound like it matches with what the guy is about.
Yeah.
So for those who don't understand, Shona Mudiwa is a name from Zimbabwe, and it means beloved, pretty much.
Yeah,
Isn't
exactly.
It? Okay. So let's get... in fact, before we get into the story, what lesson or lessons would you like people who are listening to this to learn?
Mainly, the first lesson I'd want to, give out is mainly for the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that don't make yourself suffer, like financially and all that other stuff, trying to prove to someone that your wife material or something. Like, don't do that to yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the second lesson is don't be too desperate for love.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite religious, and I have a pastor who once said a desperate person is a dangerous person. And I feel like I got to an extent where I was like really dangerous because I was just desperate to be loved, and it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Don't be desperate. Walk away when you still have your pride.
Oh, that's nice. I'm seeing a bit of a trend here. So last week's episode, the lady that I spoke to said something very similar. She said, don't be too desperate to love. So I think this is a really, really important thing to touch on, maybe for the next few weeks, because I think it will speak to a lot of people and resonate with them very much.
Yeah, it is.
So let's go straight into yours. Mudiwa. What did you like about Mudiwa?
Mudiwa could sing.
Oh, yeah?
But it's not the Mudiwa who sings in Zimbabwe, but he was a good singer.
I was just about to ask you if we're talking about Mudiwa Hood here, because he's an artist in Zimbabwe. It's not about him, is it?
No, it's not Mudiwa Hood. No.
Okay, so Mudiwa could sing really well.
He could sing really well, and he was really, photogenic. So anytime we took pictures together, my friends were jealous because he looked so nice in pictures. And, during the good times, he was really sweet.
Did he look different in real life? Was he not as nice in real life as he was in pictures?
No, he was attractive in real life, but then in the pictures it was just more amplified.
Oh, nice. So you guys looked really good
I guess
together.
It was the two of us because it's the same thing as me when you see me in real life. I'm not really like that. You would never be like, oh, Kitoko is pretty. Okay, yes, you might say it, but then if I take a picture of myself, it's like, from a 0 to 100. So with him, we looked so good in pictures. And
Nice.
It was like, yeah.
So you guys are a photogenic couple, and you guys
yeah,
and he was
yeah.
a very good singer. Where did you guys meet in the first place?
What happened was, my first time seeing him was in high school. He was my senior. I was in Form 2 and he was in the 6th form.
Okay, so Form 2.
No, he was doing, I know he was in Form 5. He just started his, Form 2 and he was in Form 5, yeah.
Okay, so Form 2, that would have made you about 15?
14?
Yeah, okay, wow.
No, but no. The thing is, no, I didn't date him then.
Yeah.
He was just those he was handsome. So, those boys were popular at school where everyone talks about them. And
So it was a high
yeah,
school
and
crush at that time.
he was a high school crush. And then he was already singing in high school. Like he was already singing in the school choir and stuff like that. So when the following year, I was now in Form 3 and he was now doing his upper, what do you call it? Upper?
Upper
Yeah.
six?
Upper 6, exactly. I keep forgetting why. Anyway, he was now doing his upper 6th and then he asked me out. And I was chuffed, but then I was too young. I didn't understand anything about, being in a relationship. And he had a reputation with girls, like, so I didn't want to be, one of the girls was going, oh, she was once with him and stuff like that. So,
what sort of reputation did he have?
in high school, people don't really do like major stuff, but then the whole fondling thing, he was known to be that, the guy who fondles.
Dirty boy.
He was really dirty. So I was like, I don't think I want people to know me, for that. So I just, declined. And then that was it. And we never spoke again. But the thing was, we came from the same hometown. But as soon as he was done with his, A levels, he moved to the capital. He moved to Harare.
Okay.
And we were both from Mutare. So he moved, and to me, it was like he never existed. I completely forgot about him. I went on with my life, finished my high school, went on to uni. And then after uni, I went through a major breakup. And then I kind of left Zim to just clear my head. So I went to SA. I stayed there for quite some time. And then whilst I was there, I was working. And then one day on Facebook, he sends me a friend request. So I was like, oh, this guy.
Blast
and then
from
I
the
accepted.
past.
And yeah. And then the moment I just accepted it, he wrote me a message. Oh, hi, how you doing? And, stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I'm okay. And, we just hit it off. It was just, it was so easy talking to him when the first day that we started talking. And in no time, we had already exchanged numbers. We're now talking on WhatsApp. And then I told him, oh, I'm not in Zim. And then he was like, oh, you should come back. And I'm like, oh, I'm quite comfortable here. I'm making, good money. And he's like, oh, you should come back. I feel, we should be together. I've always had a thing for you, and then he was telling me about things from like high school. And then I think that also messed me up because I was like, oh, I guess he genuinely loves me. He's been thinking about me since
Since high school.
2005.
Yeah.
Since high school. And this was 2014. So he convinced me. We talked about it for a few, weeks. And then I finally quit my job. Then I told my aunt, I was like, well, I want to go back to Zim. She's like, why? I'm like, I miss home. She's like, do you really miss home? Most of your life you never stayed at home because you're in boarding from primary, up until uni. So why would you now be like, oh, I miss home, that I have to go back? And then I was like, oh, I miss home. I don't like it here. I don't feel safe. I just had to find something to say. And then my aunt was like, it's fine. You can go back. And then the moment I got back to Zimbabwe, thank God, a week after going back, I got a job in Harare. And he was in Harare as well.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, seems like the stars are, aligning for us to be together. And then I moved to Harare, and This was our first time meeting after high school.
Hmm.
So when we met, it was just like we'd known each other for a lot. Like it was just sparks. I remember.
Yeah.
I just felt, and then so when we were talking, he wasn't really clear about some details about himself.
Like what?
Yes, I did know that he was doing. At that moment he was doing a master's.
Mm-hmm.
But he hadn't told me that he'd left his job in order to just do the master's full time, something like that.
Okay.
So in my mind, I thought he's doing the master's whilst he's working.
Gotcha.
And now on our way to his place, it's now like, oh, I'm currently not working, and yada yada yada. So when you get to my place, don't expect much. I was like, okay.
He's kind of setting the scene for what for what you're gonna see, isn't it? Okay.
And then when I got there, I was like shocked. I was like, I won't lie. For a second, I was like, is this why I left my good job to come back to this? But then, I guess I was just blinded by
what did you
wanting
see?
to be loved. After he had nothing, like he just. Damn it! I feel so stupid when I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
He had nothing. Like he just had a bed and a chair and a desk and a laptop. That was it. He wasn't even cooking. He was buying his food every day.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, you're way older than I am, but
Yeah.
I know that these are things that they're basics that you should have in your house, like a stove, a fridge, And then he was
So
like,
he didn't even have any of those. He didn't have a stove.
he didn't
have a
have any of
fridge.
those things.
Wow.
Nothing. And I was like,
was he living in a 1-bed apartment?
Yes.
Okay.
In a one room, not an apartment.
Oh, in a
If we say
one room.
apartment, it makes it sound fancy.
So, so pretty much a studio flat where you got the bed and the kitchen, everything is in one place.
Where the
Okay.
the kitchen, everything is just in the same space.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got really turned off by everything that I'd seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like those feelings were now beginning to waver a bit. I was like, really? Is this, but I don't know what he said or what he did, but then it came back and I was like, oh, this is why I'm here. And in the following weeks, I started, pushing him. We should get this for your place. We should get this for your place. And I had my own place.
Mm-hmm.
I just, at first I was like, oh, just move in with me. And then and I was like, nah, my parents are really, strict. They might just be like, oh, we're in a hurry. We want to see where you stay, So I was like, I'm going to get my own place. I'll buy my own stuff, but, I can always come and visit regularly.
Yeah.
So I started pushing him to buy, stuff for himself. And I was also doing my own stuff. But what I noticed was he slicked a lot. He never seemed serious. Seemed very aloof about a lot of things in life. Like, it always had to be me pushing him, and then he would be like, oh, so can I have the money to do this? And I don't know why, but I kept giving him the money.
So, so this guy was not working. He was doing a master's.
He was not.
Basically had no drive to do to do better. And,
exactly.
And now he's starting to rely on you financially.
Exactly.
That feels to me like a big red flag.
And the thing was, I didn't see it. In my mind, I told myself, if I do this, you'll see that I'm a woman who's focused.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll probably be like, oh, I need her in my life.
Okay.
That was the thing. I think that was what I had in mind. I honestly don't know why I kept doing it.
Okay.
So this started going on until it got to a point where I was basically broke the whole time because I had to sustain two places. I was buying food for him. If he needed anything, he would ask it for me, and then I would also have to, buy my own stuff for my own sustenance.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a good job, and I was making enough money that I could, be comfortable, send money home if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
My siblings were in school.
Mm-hmm.
If I wasn't with this guy, I could have been, paying the fees. I had enough money to live a very, very comfortable life. But because I had this other person, I had to sacrifice some other things that I could have done for myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could have easily spoiled myself, but there was always that thought, oh, Mudiwa is going to ask for money for whatever school projects and stuff like that.
So you kind of had a reserve for him just to take care of his needs.
Exactly. You know, and then it was 4 or 5 months into the relationship, and that's when I started noticing some stuff. Like, every time we were together, like I'd basically see him almost every day. Because we stayed in the same area. I actually looked for an apartment near where he was staying so that we could be closer. And so I'd see him almost every day, and then probably he would come to my place, eat, and then he goes back to his, or vice versa, whatever happens. So the first time I noticed something wasn't okay, you know, when you're always with someone that you love, you don't really have time to concentrate on your phone or something like that. But on that day, he seemed very distracted. Like, it felt like I was talking to myself, and he was on the phone the whole time. And it's not that I've got issues with people using their phones. I honestly don't mind. But I just told him, like, it's so boring when I'm telling you something and you're not listening, and I have to repeat it over and over again because you're not concentrating.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to talk to me, talk to me. If you want to be on your phone, then so be it. And, you know, he was like, oh, no, don't worry. Then he put the phone down. Within a couple of minutes, he takes it again and he's smiling, and, you know, and then you just notice, like, he only smiles like this when I'm with him. So what's so nice on that phone? And then that's when the seed was planted in my mind. I was like, he's probably talking to someone else. So me being the person I had just come out of a relationship where I almost got married. Like, the guy was supposed to come and do the whole lobola thing 2 weeks prior, and then no, he did this shitty stuff 2 weeks prior, coming to pay for the lobola. So I had issues. I had trust issues.
Okay.
So when I asked him, he was like, "Oh no, it's nothing. I'm just talking to my boys from school," and I was like, "It's okay." But when I went home, I don't know why I did it. I was not that I don't know. I think I was just being, I don't know.
What did you do?
Prayed. I was like, God, you know, the thing is, I know most people don't believe it, but I was just like, God, please just open my eyes. I need to see something.
Okay.
You know, like, I can't be taken for a ride, please. And then, so this happened on a Thursday, and then the Friday I didn't see him because he said, oh, he had something to do with, and he was very religious, like extremely religious. He loved church. And you'd get angry if I missed church. He'd be like, I don't like girlfriends. You know, he wanted to portray this religious, you know, persona, but I knew who he was. And so for me, it was really hard for me to take that religious side of him seriously, because I knew all the stupid and dirty stuff you'd get up to, you know. So he was like, oh, I have to go and do some choir stuff. You know, he was in the choir as well in church, and it was a big church. So he went, and then on the Saturday we met. I didn't go to work on that day. I was off. And then same thing happens. He's so happy on his phone. And then I was like, oh, by the way, dress up. We need to get to town. So I knew he hadn't showered. So he left his phone charging. And I don't know how I did it. I'm not really tech savvy, to be honest. But he had so many passwords, but I disabled everything. like everything. His phone, I left it at a point where it was just slides to unlock. He had the vault. He had something he called 360 security, if I'm not mistaken. He had so much stuff going on in his phone, but I disabled everything. And then I went through his WhatsApp, and then I saw.
So before you go further, I'm only laughing because you say you prayed first, right? For something to be revealed for you. And then here's the revelation, which is you going through the guy's phone. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I thought. I was like, God gave me
So
the knowledge.
so in your opinion, the prayer is what helped you get through the phone. Is that correct?
I think so because before that,
Yeah.
I always saw him, and he had his security thing. It was like that pattern thing. It was so complicated. I tried to look at it always, but then I would never be able to memorize it. But then on
Okay.
that day, it was just one try and I
Bang!
was
It
in.
just happened.
And then I just went to settings. I was like, disable privacy. Like,
Wow.
and
Okay.
he didn't have like a regular phone, like a Samsung
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
an iPhone. He had this weird Chinese brand that's very
Yeah.
popular in China
Yeah.
because So
Okay.
I
So
was surprised that I was able to do it.
okay. So
I was like, probably God wants me to see this.
that's brilliant. Okay, so you got into the phone and then
And then I got into the
you went to his
phone
WhatsApp.
and
Mm-hmm.
WhatsApp, and there was a girl,
Mm.
and she was saying she's pregnant,
Mm.
and he was saying, no, you're not pregnant for me. When I slept with you, I was prepared. And the girl was like, you're lying. We didn't do it with anything. And he was so, adamant that he's not responsible. And he was actually being, now that I'm not in the situation, I can see he was being very rude to her.
Mm-hmm.
He was now calling her names, like,
Mm-hmm.
I have a girlfriend. My girlfriend works and this girl was only in her A levels. She was very young. And this guy, imagine, this happened when I was around 24, and he was already 28. And this girl is in A level. So there's a 10-year difference between them. And he's now calling her names. Oh no, uh, don't tell me you're pregnant for me. I have a girlfriend. And, so when I saw it, I'll be honest, in this one I take the blame. I should have just walked away. But in my mind, I was like, he's telling her he's got a girlfriend. It means he loves me.
Oh wow.
So I kind of took his side.
Okay.
So he walks out of the shower, and I'm like, dude, what the hell is this? He's like, oh, babes, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. And then I was like, you know what? We have to deal with this. And if she's listening, she might not. She might know. I'm sorry for what I did. Because I called her, I was like, leave my man alone.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly did that.
Mm-hmm.
And now when I look back at myself, I was stupid.
What was the reaction when you said leave my man alone?
She was like, oh, you have no idea. I'm not the only one. She was also from church.
Mm-mm.
And I was like, you know what? You just don't want to see people are happy in their relationships. He made a mistake because you came on to him. That was the explanation he gave me.
Mm.
Like, he was like, oh, she's in the choir. She was always, giving me the side eye. I feel, I was tempted. I'm so sorry. Something like that.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, he doesn't love me. Yeah, it was a crazy time in my life, but I did it. And he blocked her, and I don't know what happened to her. I honestly don't know if she had a baby. If she didn't, I don't know. I have no idea.
That's mad.
Yeah. So if she's listening by any chance, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then for some weird reason, we became really close after that, because it was like, oh, girl, thank you so much for being in my corner. And I was like, oh my God, I found the man of my
Mm.
dreams. And then barely a month after that, that feeling came back again. I was like, this guy's up to something. I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same thing happens. I go through his phone whilst he's sleeping. The whole Inspector Gadget thing, the passwords, everything was taken off.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw he was having a fling with someone from school. And this girl actually knew about me. He had told her that I have a girlfriend, this is a name. And apparently she had my number, because she kept saying, if you don't meet me, I'm going to call your girlfriend. I'll tell her.
Whoa. So she was blackmailing him.
Yeah, she was blackmailing him and stuff like that. So this time, I really wasn't pleased. Like, I wasn't like, oh, at least, nah, I was pissed. And then I asked him about it. And then he was like, because I was so angry, I was crying. I was asking him, and that's what usually happens. I feel like I have a temper, and I usually cry when I'm really angry. And then at first he wanted to flip the issue on me. He's like, you know what, you should stop going through my phone now. Look at yourself. You're crying and it's all your fault. And I was like, don't do that stuff with me. I'm not 5. You're not going to make me feel bad for seeing what I saw.
Yeah.
And so we had a major fight, and then we didn't break up as such, but then I didn't talk to him for like 2 days. And he came to my place. He's like, oh no, you know what? I'm not with her anymore and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? If you're not with her anymore, can I have a number? And then he's like, oh, here, take it.
But what did you want her number for?
In my mind, I thought, if I notice him being online and her being online at the same time, that's what that was my thinking. I was like, I have to check in whether they're online at the same time.
I mean, can I ask you a question? Why all this trouble? Why were you going through all of this trouble?
I have no idea. I think in my mind, I just wanted to be someone's girlfriend.
Okay, I need to ask you a question. Okay, this guy obviously had slept with one girl, had slept with another girl, and then you were still okay with it. Were you? There's an expression, and excuse my French, were you dickmatized? Was his sex that good you couldn't let him go?
It really wasn't.
So
it wasn't good.
So what was it? and you know, for all you know, right? Those are the only people that you knew of. There might have been other people who were sleeping with that church.
He had more people. It's just that I found out about the other people when the breakup happened.
And
because
how many people are we talking here?
Okay, let me think. More than 15 people.
Oh, come on. More than 15
More
people?
More than 15 people in church.
In the same church?
In the same church. These are the 15 people I know about.
This is mad.
The thing was, even where he used to rent, I also heard that he was also doing stuff with the maid.
With the maid?
Yeah. He had no self-respect.
Gosh.
I only found out about this, like, after the breakup, because the landlord's son was, it was cool. And so he met me the other day, and then he was like, I have noticed you haven't been coming to visit your boyfriend. I'm like, oh, we broke up and stuff like that. And then he was like, oh, your boyfriend was a douchebag. He used to bring in girls all the time whilst you weren't here. You remember that other maid? She got fired because mom found out they were doing stuff together.
No way.
There was a whole lot of people, and at the same and I remember when I found out about this, yes, we'd broken up, but I was so scared for my life because I thought, what if I have a disease?
Yeah.
I remember I went to get tested and I was shaking, Tindro. Like I was shaking, literally shaking like a reed. Because there were times when we didn't, when you date for so long, you cannot be using rubbers all the time.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry for lowering my voice.
Yeah, I mean that's it's not an uncommon thing. A lot of people tend to do that when they feel, they're in a safe and stable thing.
Exactly.
And they have peace of mind.
Dated for long.
But you knew that you were in an unsafe thing because 2 people had already turned up somewhere within your relationship. So you took that risk knowingly anyway. Why would you do that?
I now when I think about it, I have no explanation why I did it. Because the thing was, the sex wasn't really good. It's I don't want to say this because I'll sound like I'm someone who's just trying to diss him.
No, go on and say it.
Even his stuff wasn't big as well.
He didn't have a big willy, pretty much.
He didn't have a big willy, and he didn't really last that long.
Oh,
like
dear.
5 minutes and he's out.
Ay.
And
so, Oh my gosh. You were being shortchanged on so many levels. One, you left a job in South Africa which had good money, right?
Exactly.
Two, you've got a guy who's financially dependent on you. Three, you have a guy who is cheating on you. Four, he is underperforming sexually. Five, he doesn't last. Six, he's got a small willy. You have every reason under the sun not to be with this guy.
But the thing, I now when I think about it, I think it was just, that picture perfect guy in front of everyone else's eyes.
Yeah.
So I just wanted it to work.
It
I just
ties
wanted
in. It
to
ties in
be
very, very, very well with your lesson that don't be desperate for stuff and don't make yourself do
exactly.
things that are not right. It ties
Exactly.
in very
And
well.
that guy was the first guy who taught me about having, sexual intercourse constantly. And I always used to ask him, like, you're really religious, but you like sex a lot.
Yeah.
Like, for me,
He was living a double
if you
life,
know,
wasn't he?
you what, I wish the pastors knew what he was doing,
Why didn't you
because
tell them? Because you knew.
I did tell an elder from church after the breakup, and I did it, and then I stopped going to that church,
What
and
did
then
the
I
elder
got,
say?
and she revealed like some of the other stuff that was happening, because
Is this the
when
elder? Sorry,
elder,
I realized you went and you spoke to the elder, and the elder is the one who was now revealing to you some of the other stuff.
exactly, some of the other stuff, like,
So these people knew and they chose not to protect you.
I guess so, because in my mind I thought the church was supposed to be there to guide people, to protect their congregants, and to reprimand someone who's doing wrong stuff in church. But the only time he felt the need to run away was when he had impregnated some eldest daughter. And so I guess this lady was not because this guy, he was really well known. Like, well known to the extent that he would be traveling with some really big pastors in Zimbabwe. You'd be traveling with them to other countries to go and do the stuff that has to be done.
I'm going to ask this question, which might be a bit unfair, but I feel I need to ask it. So people who are usually in a place of influence, and in a place of authority, like he seems like he is because he's so good with his voice, seem to have a form of immunity, a sort of diplomatic immunity from a lot of stuff. We see this in a lot of
Yeah.
communities worldwide. Do you feel he felt he had some level of immunity and he continued doing all this rubbish? Because if you say that people in the church knew the stuff that he was doing and he still
Yeah.
continued to do it, he
Yeah.
felt he was untouchable.
Yeah, he was untouchable because there was one time we were still together then. A rumor was, going around in church, and one of the pastors stood up and then they were like, "Oh, Mudiwa is my son. Don't try and ruin his reputation. Young girls saying all this stupid stuff about him. He's got a bright future ahead of him. Soon he'll be taking over the world singing and stuff like that." And I was sitting there and I was like, I wish they knew how much this guy is a bad boy. He drinks, he smokes, and he loves sex. I I wish I could have told them then.
Yeah, you had an opportunity to say it. Why?
But he was my boyfriend, so I couldn't.
Wow.
I was stuck between a rock and a hard place because I honestly didn't know what to do. Even there were times when I would see, like in this, you remember the girl I apologized to? She was very young. She was only 16 or 17. I could have done something to help her. But rather, I was like, leave my man alone. And I could have, I don't know what I could have done, but I should have been someone who was there to help another woman, but rather I just caused more pain in her life. I don't know what decision she took. I don't know if she kept the baby or she aborted it. But, for the longest of time, I carried the guilt with me for until I just prayed about it and I was like, it's not my fault. Yes, I did take part, but I'm saying, yes, I did this, but I'm also telling God that please take this guilt away from me because I'm not the one who slept with her.
Yeah.
Yes, I could have helped her. Yes, I could have reported him actually because she was young. She was in high school, which means it could have easily been a case of him being a rapist if she was younger than 16, I guess. But I didn't do anything because in my mind I was like, I cannot lose him to this girl.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stand by my man. And, like I said before, a desperate person is dangerous.
Yeah.
I was dangerous. I was a danger to other women because I was trying to protect the reputation of the biggest loser in the world.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
Has that experience affected the choice of guys you go for? So if you have a good-looking guy who goes to church and a good-looking guy who doesn't go to church, and they have the exact same qualities, except that one goes to church and one doesn't go to church, which one are you going to
I'll
go
go
for?
for the guy who doesn't go to church.
Ooh, somebody who affected how you view men from church.
I actually am not into extremely religious guys anymore because I feel those guys are the biggest pretenders in the world. I'm human, so it's not easy for me to be like, oh, do as I say and not as I do. No, I'm human. I'm also going to look at your deeds. That's the problem. We are human. We are not like God, where God is like, you can see past, your transgressions. When I know what you do, it's stuck in my mind forever. I'm not God. If you
Wow.
do something wrong, it'll always be there. So if I'm dating someone who doesn't go to church, who doesn't do this, who doesn't do that, at least I have my own canvas. I can teach this person to believe in a way that I do, and we can have the same understanding. Because I'm not also extremely religious. I do know that I have to pray, but I'm not like walking around preaching to people, oh, you're doing wrong things, oh, I'm perfect. No, 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 no. Because I've also done some very questionable stuff. But, if it's someone who doesn't have any ties to any religion, you can just teach them to do the bare minimums with you.
Yeah.
And you can have an understanding, and like you being with someone who makes themselves look like they're deputy Jesus or something,
Deputy Jesus,
Yeah, he was deputy Jesus because he always used to scold me if I didn't go to church. It's like, oh, I don't like girlfriends who don't do, who don't go to church. I cannot marry you if He used to do that to me a lot, and now when I think about it, he was just trying to show me some facade,
Yeah.
trying to blind me into thinking I found the perfect man. And now, honestly, I'm not attracted to guys who are extremely religious, to be honest. I'm not
Wow.
attracted to them anymore. I just want the regular oak,
Yeah.
go to the pub on Saturday, meet his friends, comes back home. Sunday, we go for a very short service, an hour or two. We go back home, he has his beer, I'm doing whatever I'm doing. Yeah, that's what I'd prefer.
You sound
Not
like you're very real now when it comes to relationships.
the whole experience taught me a lot. Now I have very realistic
Expectations.
expectations from guys.
Yeah.
And now I've also learned to love myself
Yeah.
because I know before I had no confidence. I was so low on my self-esteem, and I thought my worth is from being with a man. But now I know my power. And sometimes I'll be sitting alone. I'm like, I think I'm becoming too cocky. with this.
Yeah.
But now I know who I am. I know my power, and I know I don't need someone to make
Validate
me
you.
feel good about me.
Pretty much, yeah. Well done for that, because it's not everyone who's able to get to that point so comfortably. So kudos to you, man. Honestly, kudos to you. That's a really, really good thing.
And I'm happy that even up until now he's not married, which means he's a very big,
How do you know he's not married?
big ale. I'm not married, but he's not married either.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying, how do you know he's not married?
I know.
How?
I know.
How? Are you keeping tabs on this guy?
No, I don't keep tabs, but then I do see him on the Facebook streets.
Okay. And just as I do a recap at the beginning of this podcast, Kitoko said, for the ladies, don't make yourself suffer too much and do extreme things just to prove that you're wifey material, and don't be too desperate for love. Somewhere along there, she said, don't post nobody on Facebook until you have 3 or 4 kids. And then just in the last minute, you've mentioned that you've built your self-confidence, you've built your self-worth. And I'm just going to throw those in there to say that those are really solid and important cornerstones in making you do the right and say the right things when it comes to choosing a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any last words for somebody who might be into boys that love church?
I'm not trying to stereotype, church-loving men, but 90% of the time they're womanizers. I've noticed. I have friends who have dated them too, because they come under this guise of being perfect, because they're religious. So you will relax thinking, oh my God, I found an angel, and he's actually the devil's cousin. Please.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mentioned Deputy Jesus. Now you're saying devil's cousin.
Devil's cousin is.
Right.
Now.
Okay.
So just
yeah.
ladies, yeah.
She's not stereotyping, but basically, if you're going to go in there and somebody's overly zealous about religion, just keep one eye open, pretty much.
Keep an eye open.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. You've been listening to another episode of the Feeling Station podcast, and I look forward to catching you in next week's episode. Peace.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Satis and Daro Raini and Chake Zain.
Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over.
Satis and Daro Raini and Chake Zain.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
Urudoi motor no to kujidziro amai.
Kujidziro amai. Love is a fire.
Urudoi motor no to kujidziro amai.